Welcome to Radical Self-Forgiveness, a 6-session workshop based on the book Radical Self-Forgiveness that I have right here, written by Colin Tipping. I'm Rebecca Harmon, and I'll be your instructor. We are in our last class of this 6-session workshop. This is session number 6, class number 6. So welcome, you've made it. Let's get started. So just another brief review of the logistics by now. I think if you've been following along, you've got these down pat. The handouts are linked below the video here in the YouTube channel. You can go there and download all 6 handouts for all 6 classes. And there are recordings like this one for the previous 5 classes as well. And again, I do record the lecture portion of each class separately from the live classes to provide privacy for the participants in each class. I am offering this through and in conjunction with CSL Greater Pittsburgh, where I am a licensed spiritual practitioner, and it is available to you free to access and use. But if you feel so compelled or so moved to share a love offering in recognition and gratitude for this class, we would ask that you send it to CSL Greater Pittsburgh, either at the P.O. box listed there, or to click on our website link there, cslgreaterpittsburgh.org, and click in the top right-hand corner of the homepage there where it says Give to CSL Greater Pittsburgh. Whichever way you choose to give, please do indicate that your donation is in recognition of the Self-Forgiveness Workshop. Let's go ahead and get started. Now, in the live session, of course, I would take questions and comments, and we would have a little brief discussion on the content from the previous week. Now, last week, of course, we did work on the sheets that were hallmark to Colin Tipping's work around radical forgiveness and self-forgiveness. So I hope, as you're watching this recorded session, that if you have had questions, that you've already reached out to me by email. If you haven't yet and you'd still like to, please do. My email address is listed in the YouTube channel. It's also listed on the very first slide here. And if you stay with me, it will show up there in the very last slide in this presentation as well. We did not do a guided meditation in class 5, but we will do another one this class. And as in previous classes, what you'll need to do is get the handout, download the handout. And again, the link is below the video here in the YouTube channel. And open up that PDF file and navigate to that 3rd or 4th slide where it says guided meditation. And you should see here this word video is a hyperlink. So go ahead and click on that video and engage in the guided meditation. So pause me, minimize your screen, go to the YouTube channel, get the handout, and after you've engaged with the guided meditation, come back and we'll continue on the other side. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that guided meditation. And I would simply encourage you, even after this class is over, to search for meditations on YouTube. There's a whole host of wonderful, wonderful guided meditations available for our use and appreciation. So in this last class, we are going to look at radical self-acceptance. And the worksheet that we did last week around the self-forgiveness has been modified slightly and turned into a radical self-acceptance. It's very similar on many levels, but a little different in some areas. So we look at the radical self-acceptance worksheet as just another tool in our toolbox as we walk through this journey of self-forgiveness and personal growth. So I'm going to do what I did in the previous class with the self-forgiveness worksheet, and I'm going to break it down into sections. So section 1 in the radical self-acceptance is to write down as many attributes about ourselves that we already accept as part of who we are. We're going to be listing the good qualities. And so I would simply encourage you, if you think of negative shadow type explanations, to go back and maybe use this image there in box number 1 to see if you could turn it into a more positive. So you want to just list all the wonderful things about yourself. And once we're done with that, we can move over to box number 2 here, and we can think about what we're finding or have recently found objectionable in someone else that we might be able to identify as part of our shadow. And when we see behaviors in others that really make us react strongly, it's a clue, it's a big red flag or a warning bell for us to pay attention because it's something that we need to address and heal within ourselves. So that's box number 2. Most of us won't have any trouble finding someone that irritates us or aggravates us. But if we do, number 3 is an alternative. And that would be, if even if no one is mirroring my shadow parts, I feel hatred toward myself. And what I seem to hate most about myself right now is, and then you would write that down. I suspect most of us will be able to find someone that we're aggravated with or that irritates us in box 2. But if not, we can use number 3 as the alternative. And if you'd like, you can pause the video here and take some time to think about both your list of cool attributes as well as someone that is mirroring back to you things that you don't care for. After you've done 1, 2, and possibly 3, step number 4 asks that you do a self-esteem check and think about how you feel about yourself. Self-esteem is how you hold yourself in esteem, how you feel about yourself. So a self-esteem of a 1 would be very low. You don't like yourself, you don't appreciate yourself. Self-esteem rated at 10 would be through the roof. You have no issues with yourself. So think about where you are right now and give yourself an honest score. And if you've printed out your workbook, you can add that number right here, or you can just write it in your journal. Now we want to read out loud this statement. Now you may remember, I think it was class 3, where I suggested that we do the Ho'oponopono and incorporate Louise Hay's mirror work. This is another affirmation that might be good to do in the mirror. And I smile as I think back to Louise's early recorded interviews where she'd have this little pocket mirror she'd pull out of her purse, an old fashioned, mirror with a handle. Whatever it is that works, whatever. If you want to use where's my iPhone? If you want to use your cell phone and just turn on the video um, and turn it around so it's a self video, you can do that too. Whatever works. You're going to say this statement to yourself. I lovingly recognize and accept my feelings and judge them no more. So this is box number 5 on the Radical Self-Acceptance Workshop. This is an affirmation that we would be wise to print out or write out and keep handy. Maybe put one in each room that has a mirror. Just a thought. Number 6, we're going to read another statement out loud. I own my feelings. No one can make me feel anything. My feelings are a reflection of how I see each situation. So again, you can pause this video, copy that down, or just use your handout if you've printed it out and speak this to yourself. And again, this is number 6 on our Radical Self-Acceptance Worksheet. Box number 7 is another statement for us to read. This is a little longer. I realize that the shadow attributes that are being resonated within me, even when hard to recognize, are nothing more than stories I was shamed into believing were true. It is these that have caused me to feel poorly about myself. I now completely reject those stories and restore love to myself. Number 8 on the Radical Self-Acceptance Worksheet. I now lovingly release all judgments and negative feelings about myself and totally accept myself just the way I am in all of my absolutely perfect imperfection. In particular, I release the following. You may want to pause this video and think about what negative judgments and feelings that you harbor or have harbored about yourself. And think about what you're going to write down on this worksheet to work on releasing. When you're done, you can come back to this video and continue. Now we move into number 9 on the Radical Self-Acceptance Worksheet. And number 9 goes as follows. I realize that there are people I might be tempted to hold responsible for shaming me into believing these stories and teaching me that I am less than perfect. I resolve to do as many radical forgiveness worksheets as necessary to forgive them for doing this. Now, radical forgiveness is a different class, but the sheets work very much the same. Right now, I would just recommend on number 9 that you make a list of people that you may be tempted to hold responsible for shaming you or for planting seeds of negativity about yourself. Many of us are going to start with parents and caregivers when we were children, and that's fine. All of these people we're going to hold in loving, forgiving energy. So we can list them here for now. Number 10, we're going to realistically describe ourselves. The statement goes as follows. I would now realistically describe myself with all my strengths and weaknesses as follows. And then we're going to write down a description of ourselves. And again, for number 9 and number 10, you may want to pause this video and give yourself some time to think and spend some time in contemplation to write these things down. Sometimes people prefer to watch the whole video in its entirety, the whole class lecture, and then go back and redo the various areas and then pause on the second viewing. It doesn't matter. However it works for you is the perfect way. Okay, let's go on to the next boxes. It looks like I have boxes 11 and 12 reversed, so we'll go from right to left. On box number 11, we're going to read the following statement out loud. I completely forgive myself, and you can write your name on that line, and accept myself as a loving, generous, creative being. I release all need to hold on to negative emotions and ideas of low self-worth. I withdraw my energy from the past and release all barriers against the love and abundance that I know I have already. I create my thoughts, my feelings, and my life, and I am empowered to be myself again, to unconditionally love and support myself just the way I am in all my magnificence. And I would encourage you to pause the video now if you're working through and pausing, and go ahead and read that statement to yourself. When you're done, come on back and we'll move on to box number 12. In box number 12, we're going to read this statement out loud. I now surrender to the higher power that I think of as, and you may use words like God, Spirit, Divine Intelligence, Allah, Infinite Mind, Jesus, whatever it is, Krishna, whatever tradition you follow is okay. It's just whatever you consider to be your higher power. So we're going to say, I now surrender to the higher power I think of as infinite wisdom, and trust in the knowledge that this situation will continue to unfold perfectly and in accordance with divine guidance and spiritual law. I acknowledge my oneness and feel myself totally reconnected with my source. I am restored to my true nature, which is love. I close my eyes in order to feel the love that flows in my life and to feel the joy that comes when the love is felt and expressed. And so I would encourage you at this time to pause the video and take just a few minutes to feel the love that flows in your life. feel the joy that comes when that love is felt by you and expressed through you. Now we're going to write a note to ourselves. We're going to write some sort of a loving statement saying how much we appreciate and honor ourselves for doing this work and for doing this specific worksheet. Finish by reading your statement out loud. And again, I will encourage you to read the statement to yourself in the mirror if you can. And when you read your statement, you're going to also add the following declaration. And again, in the mirror is a good way to do this. I completely accept you. Now, keep in mind, you are talking to you. So you're talking to yourself. I completely accept you just the way you are. For I now realize that you have always been perfect and that there was never anything wrong with you. I acknowledge, accept, and love you unconditionally, just the way that you are. I recognize that I am a spiritual being having a spiritual experience in a human body, and I love and support myself in every aspect of my humanness. You may want to pause this video now and go work on this. You may want to take your hand out and work on this later. It doesn't matter. This these resources and this class is here for you to come back to as many times as you need. We did a self-esteem check earlier in our progress through the self-acceptance worksheet. I would simply ask you, after you've worked through the various steps that I've shared on the self-acceptance worksheet, to think about your self-esteem now and rate it again between 1 and 10. 1 being very low and 10 being very high. One of the reasons that we do this, actually, just as a side note, many people just from doing the worksheet find that their self-esteem clicks up a few notches. And so that's something to remember. If you, as we all do, we get back into our routines and our habits in our life, and we find that, we're starting to feel on a downward trajectory, come back, grab one of these sheets, grab the Radical Self-Acceptance Worksheet and work through it, and you'll boost yourself up. So it's a nice tool to have at the ready, and it's, easy to tuck in your purse or your wallet or leave saved on your, save it on your phone even as a picture and take it with you. As we close out the Radical Self-Forgiveness book, Chapter 11 provides some specific guidance around using the Radical Self-Forgiveness process around areas that are common, that we all share some struggle with. Certainly body image, obesity, health, and always our finances and abundance are almost always at an issue for us to deal with in one way or another. It's helpful, but remember that what I mean by it's helpful to look at this through the lens of obesity, body image, finances, or health. But this process of radical self forgiveness can be applied to any area of need. And I've listed just a handful here: being unable to have children, marrying the wrong person, not having a life partner, missing out on opportunities in our lives, not having the courage to do things, criminal behavior, all kinds of things. There are all kinds of opportunities for us to apply the radical self forgiveness process and find healing and peace. And all it takes, truly, all that it takes is a willingness on our part to do the worksheets, a willingness to have an open mind, to open our minds if we don't necessarily have a default perspective as an open mind. And our spiritual intelligence will really take care of the rest. We talked about that in class 4. So if we're open and receptive and willing to do the work that we've laid out here in this class, we will find that we move forward in our healing, we move forward in our ability to forgive ourselves, and we move forward toward achieving a higher level of peace. So, as you continue on your journey, your personal journey of growth and development, and this is from page 253 to 254 in the textbook here, or in the Radical Self-Forgiveness book. I encourage you to connect with your higher power, whatever that is, and ask that you continue to be guided in fulfilling your divine plan, your divine roadmap. Trust the process. Trust the process of life. Trust the process of divine guidance, and allow it to unfold in perfect sequence and perfect order. And know that no matter what it looks like, it is that perfection. Trust that spiritual intelligence. Remember that you do have this antenna in your body that helps you realign with that spiritual intelligence that is always guiding, always nudging you in the right direction. Be grateful and happy for all things that come your way, even the tough things, for they are always lessons that can be learned, and truth that can be mined, and wisdom that can be gained. And as we would say in Centers for Spiritual Living and other spiritual, not religious organizations, and so it is. I want to thank everyone who's come along on this journey, whether we met face to face on a Zoom call for these classes that were live, or whether you're catching this as a recording. I want to thank you for being willing to show up and do the hard work of healing. Healing is hard work. It's painful. It's difficult. It's challenging, but it's worth it. I want to thank you for your interest in this class, this workshop, for your engagement and interactions with me. As your instructor, I appreciate all of the emails and the outreach. Keep them coming. It's really my deep pleasure to share my view of this work with the world. And I want to thank you too for the good that you're taking out into the world, because every time we heal, it's not just us that benefits. It's like that pebble in the pond. It radiates out and blesses all of humanity. So thank you. And again, please do stay in touch. And I said that my email would be on the last one, but I guess I've put my blog here. I have written for the last 7 years a spiritually themed blog, and it's found at this link, practitionerspath.wordpress.com. You can certainly click that link to get to my blog, and there is a way to contact me on the blog. But I will also take you back to the first slide, which has my email address, Rebecca, rscp@gmail.com. I look forward to hearing from those of you I have not heard from yet. And again, just want to thank everyone for your time, your attention, your interest, and your commitment to your own growth, expansion, and healing. I wish you well, and know that it is so. Take care.